Hello, hello, hello. How you going? I'm going good. Hope you're having a great day, and I'm hoping that whatever you're up to, you're finding some meaning and some purpose, and you are smiling. And yeah, I'm a winter person. I love winter, so yeah, anything to do with winter, I'm all in. It's pretty cool. So, welcome to the K Dot Podcast. This is a part two. Part one, I did it and released it about a couple of weeks ago, and it was Hillsong Church, my experience and my recommendations, part one. And just a quick recap of that. This is not a slandering podcast. This is not a you know, oh, blah blah blah, finger pointing kind of podcast. This is a life-giving podcast. If anything, this is a very encouraging space. It's a safe space where we can talk about some of those comfortably uncomfortable conversations. And I've gotten some really good feedback, keeping in mind that a lot of my really good friends are still going to Hillsong Church, and that also remembering that it's a great church. It's a phenomenal church. I would go back there tomorrow, and I just don't live near. I'm in a different season, in a different place, and God's called me. And when it comes to God's calling is for a particular time, place, and purpose. And so where I'm at right now is where I'm supposed to be. And so we talked a little bit about some of the good stuff and some of the unhealthy trends, and some of the unsustainable practices that ended up sort of imploding, exploding. And I was talking from my experience. A man with an experience is never at the mercy of a man with an argument, some would say. And so today I want to just dig a little bit. It's going to be a shorter episode, but I'm just going to dig a little bit more into a particular component that I think could and should be addressed. So without more delay, here we go. So one of my favorite TV shows is a show called Undercover Boss. Undercover Boss is a program that's gone viral in a lot of countries, including America, Australia, Asia, Africa, all around the world. If you've never watched it, you should look it up on YouTube. You'll see some great episodes and some other channels that do show that show. The concept behind it is a very senior member of a company, such as the CEO or the president, dresses undercover, especially in some of these companies that are right across the world, or across the world in some the fast food chains, like Subway, McDonald's. The regional CEO or the CEO of the company or whatever, a senior member, will be disguised as some other guy, and they basically get appointed to go to 2 or 3, sometimes 4 stores, and they get to experience what it's really like working on the front line. And one of those shops usually has a bit of a shocking reason why the CEO is there, whether it's certain complaints or certain practices. One of my favorite episodes that I saw was actually of a juicer. It's kind of like Boost Juice, but it wasn't Boost Juice. It was an American brand. Anyway, CEO gets all this mustache, a wig on and stuff like that, and he goes to this particular place in a remote part of America. And there's about 4 or 5 juice machines, of which 2 of them are not working. And so there's only 3. And so apparently in the episode they say this is America's most or busiest on the West Coast or something like that, right? And the CEO is frustrated. He's like, how come, talking to the shop manager, the shift manager, how come you've got 3 machines? How come you haven't fixed the other 2? And the guy goes, it's been a challenge. Every time I contact head office, I get told that they don't have money. And the CEO's like, hang on a minute, what do you mean we don't have money? Like, Obviously, he's trying his best to not reveal that he is the CEO, but he's realizing that somewhere between where he sits and where the people are, where the service is happening, the front-facing part of the business, there is a big gap. There are gaps in there, and there's some important things that are missing. And the manager goes on to explain that approached he's approached the head office, and head office every time they either ignore his emails and or there's just no response, and it's never anything positive. And so first of all, it was one juicer that was down, and like the blender, and he didn't get a response. And then the other one is down, and it's like, we've only got three and we are always under the pump, and I don't know how we're supposed to. I lose staff all the time. He's basically revealing all this stuff. Fast forward to the end of the show, the CEO ends up going to talk to that middle gap, and they address the situation. And he's like, never again in this company are we going to make excuses, blah, 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 blah. So taking that concept, right, and we look at the church, when it comes to some of my observations and my experiences being part of a mega church, there was definitely some gaps missing between what was happening or expected from senior leadership and what was happening on the ground. And I've got a couple of practical examples for you. So one of the things that would happen, I've spoken in part one about the typical thing is bumping in, which is like coming early in the morning and setting up, and then basically doing a whole setup process. You do two services, and then you go briefly for lunch, you come back and you do a night service, sometimes two night services, and then you pack down. And so you leave home at 4:30, and you get home 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, sometimes 11 p.m., and you're smashed. You're absolutely tired. And so there is no sustainability in that, whether you are single, whether you are married, whether you're a family unit, whether you're a half family unit, whatever that looks like. There's no sustainability in that. And so some of the problems that start to happen is families start to actually crack and break. And it's never nice because there's just no one actually policing how people are doing what they're doing. There's an element there of pastoral care that's not as efficient because of numbers. And this is one of the reasons why that mega church model is under question in this season of our lives, because people want to be pastored and people want to be discipled. In fact, it's not just about people want to be discipled. It's a biblical mandate that people are discipled and people are helped in a particular way and in a particular style. And because what essentially is needed is healthy families, healthy children, healthy marriages. And if you don't have that, a healthy family equals a healthy street. A healthy street equals a healthy neighborhood. A healthy neighborhood means a healthy community. A healthy community means healthy businesses, healthy churches, and a healthy society in general. So having said all of that, if it's not being looked at and scrutinized, it's just one of those things that has to be acknowledged, that churches are going to have families that are imploding. Anyway, so there's a period of time where my marriage was under some stress, and the advice that I'd be getting given from some of that middle management is just keep serving. God is good. God is faithful. And that's actually the worst advice you could give to someone whose marriage is hemorrhaging in that moment, because what they want in that moment is for their marriage to be mended, not to be told to burn out further. I've had a lot of time to think, why does that happen? And I'm thinking it happens because maybe the middle management themselves don't know what to do. And they are probably not trained to do the right thing. Not only that, they're probably overwhelmed and possibly burnt out themselves. There's a picture online that I have seen, and when I saw this, it changed my whole life. It's a picture of a very healthy, very strong lion. It's sitting there and it's folded its forearms like this, and it's looking in the sky, and you can tell that this lion doesn't play. Like, as in, you don't want to mess with this lion. It's just like the most perfect picture of a lion. And there's a quote on there, and it says, sometimes the problem with being the strongest person or the strongest one is that no one ever stops to ask you if you are okay. I'm going to let that sink in a little bit. Sometimes the problem with being the strongest one is that no one ever stops to ask you if you're okay. I've heard some people say, where does the pastor go to when he needs help? He or she. Where do pastors go to when they are drowning, when they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, when they're hemorrhaging? Where do they go? I think one of the problems in big churches is that senior leadership, they create a dynamic up the top that makes them unapproachable. And so then, therefore, what you find is some toxicity at that level. And of course, the people in the middle are watching that and observing that and going, if over here they're getting away with certain behaviors and responsibilities and whatever, we can do the same. And before you know it, there's a bit of a synergy of toxicity, right? And so to every other leader down here, this is going great in one motion, but under here, it's going in another direction, in another motion. And there is no accountability for senior pastors. There is no accountability for middle management, and it trickles down. Going back to that Undercover Boss show, when you think about that example that I gave about that juice company, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. There's no accountability up here, and there's no accountability in the middle. So then, therefore, the operations of the business crumbles. Divorce rates in the church are high. A divorce means a broken family. If a church, by the way, I think that churches are great places for healing, and churches are great places for, I've got this analogy that, like, it's kind of like a few years ago I walked into Nando's Chicken with a bunch of boys. We were getting some food, and I remember it was Saturday about 7 p.m. So the night was pretty young. We were in a queue, and I was a gentleman, and I said to the boys that I was with, there was about 5 of us, and I was the last one. I said, hey, I'll order last. You guys go, you do your thing. They ordered, and when it came time for me to put my order, I wanted a half chicken and chips meal. Mild. Pretty average Nando's meal. And I remember the guy looking confused and looking like he needed to verify something. He talks to his manager. The manager whispers something in his ear. He comes in and goes, so sorry, sir, we've run out of chicken. Nando's running out of chicken. I don't know if you've had that same experience. I've had some friends. I've told this story to some friends, whether it was KFC, where they run out of chicken, whether it was a particular burger place, they've run out of burger bread. And it's like, the very thing, the very fundamental that you're supposed to be providing, you've run out of. How does that work? Anyway, sometimes churches are like that. When people walk into our buildings, right, and they look at the menu of our church, They're looking for a particular thing on the menu. They're looking for healing, they're looking for connection, they're looking for friendships, they're looking for all sorts of stuff. But if there's a lot of this and this turmoil, chaos going on, what we have is a unhealthy church, a church that's existing but not occupying and not taking ground and not being the body that it's supposed to be. When we don't hold our leadership accountable for some of the decision making, some of the stuff, the issue that sometimes exists in big churches, and there's multiple campuses, is you don't necessarily have an eldership or a board structure that can actually do what the board and the eldership is supposed to do. From a biblical point of view, elders and board members, more so elders are supposed to come and challenge. Board members do the business side of things and keep the whole operation running and stuff like that. But more so the eldership. If you've got an eldership online on the website, on your church's website, and it's just there, but they're actually not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, discipling the leaders, looking after that middle management, then what you're going to have is boards that split into two, into three, possibly church splits, more toxicity, people going to the media, saying different things, and it just gets really messy. And it's really unfortunate and unfair for the people that are just looking for Jesus. They're the people that are just coming to church, looking at the menu and going, I just want connection. What's this rubbish? What's this mess? I just want connection. I'm looking for belonging. What's all this media stuff? What's like, what's that smell? This place smells toxicity. Like, people do not want that. People are looking for Jesus. People are looking for the Holy Spirit. People are looking for freedom. People are looking for answers. And so if we are not careful, we end up being the kind of church that is just a good looking restaurant, but not really providing what people want. You might as well give me bread with butter when I walk into your restaurant, although I came for steak, you know. So I'm saying all of that to say we need middle managers and middle line people to be pastored, to be led. Sometimes it's not their fault. I know a great number of people who used to be in that middle, not from just my experience at Hillsong Church, but from other churches where when the poop hits the fan, so to speak, they run for the hills. They run away from ministry, they shy away from ministry, they get discouraged, they get confused, they get burnt out, they get lost. And these are supposed to be the people that would have led well. They're the people that are supposed to demonstrate sustainability, but they too are struggling and they too are suffering. In closing, let's be the kind of churches that hold our leaders to accountability. And senior leaders, middle line leaders, if you happen to be a pastor and you're listening to this, start ruffling some feathers and start shaking the boat a little bit and start asking some of the questions. If you're not protected as a middle line person, if you're not protected from the top, if you're not protected from underneath, that's a great sign that something is amiss. It's just a ticking time bomb. Let's not have churches that are ticking time bombs, because the body of Christ is under enough attack from the enemy. Let's not allow the enemy to use us to implode from within. There's a lot more that I can say. Perhaps it's going to be in a part 3. But having said all of that, peace and love. Let me pray. If you're a pastor, Here's a prayer from me to you. Lord, I pray for pastors in leadership, in churches, in ministries. Father, I pray for a spirit of wisdom and a revelation of truth and freedom to really capture their hearts. Lord, I pray that they would know that you love them, each and every one. Lord, I pray that you would reveal to them your plan for their life. And Lord, I also pray that you would reveal to them a road to redemption, a way to peace, a way to adjust and readjust some things that need to be readjusted. Because God, you love us so much and you want us to be examples. You want us to be salt. You want us to be light. You want us to be the flavor in this world. You want us to demonstrate to all others what it's like living for the kingdom, living with you, Jesus. And so your heart, Father, is to get us to a place of health. And so, Lord, I just pray a supernatural revelation of health to just go into anyone that's listening to this. And this is not just a thing about middle management in a church context, but anyone who's a middle manager anywhere in life. Jesus, I thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful day. It's nice and sunny and windy where I am today. And yeah, peace. Cared Up Podcast. Let's go.